Welcome to Bicycle Retail Radio, presented by the National Bicycle Dealers Association. Bicycle Retail Radio brings together retailers, vendors, advocates, and thought leaders for honest discussions about the latest issues facing bicycle retailers. The podcast dives deep into the challenges and triumphs of the bicycle industry, providing an in-depth look at the person behind the profession. Aiming to deliver content that's both relatable and thought-provoking, offering real-world tips and insights to help you find success in the bicycle industry. There's a human side of the business, and the podcast aims to share stories, experiences, and strategies that you can apply in your own shop. Whether you're looking for inspiration, practical advice, or a sense of community, you've come to the right place. The National Bicycle Dealer Association has a rich history of supporting retailers across the nation. Founded in 1946 with a mission to strengthen specialty bicycle retailers through education, through research, through communication, and through advocacy. The National Bicycle Dealer Association is proudly supported by our members and our membership. If you'd like to learn more about the benefits of joining, please visit NBDA.com.
All right, welcome to Bicycle Retail Radio. Thanks for being here. I'm Heather Mason, NBDA President. Love today's version is our Technician Flex. It's an ongoing podcast feature focused specifically on service center and mechanics. And it's produced in partnership with NBDA educational partner, Northwest Arkansas Community College's Bicycle Assembly and Repair Technician Program Director, Benjamin Glenn. Ben, thanks for joining us.
Always a pleasure. I love this time we have together so we can talk tech. I teach kids all day and students all day and love it when I can just talk tech. It's great. It's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun. I truly enjoy these podcasts, and I hear a lot of positive feedback. If it's your first time listening to this podcast, definitely you want to know about what's happening in Northwest Arkansas. Northwest Arkansas Community College offers a program. It's industry recognized training that helps people find a career in the cycling industry. So through the school, in a year's time, you can earn a Bicycle Industry Employers Association accredited certification in bicycle assembly and repair. And you're going to gain tremendous skills in bicycle mechanics, wheel repair, assembly, bearing and suspension system. But they also cover service department operations, which is important for our retailers, and dive into electric bikes and more. If you want to know more, there's a link in the show notes, northwestarkansascommunitycollege.edu /workforce/bicycle technician. But go to the show notes. It'll be easier. So what we're doing in these podcasts is we're answering questions direct from our NBDA members and listeners. What we ask is that members or listeners send us any of your service department operations, any continuing education questions, any questions on proactive or reactive service, and Ben and I will sit down and discuss them live on the air. You can send those to heather@nbda.com. So Ben, this is episode 10. That's pretty cool, right?
It's great. Yeah, that's fantastic. I didn't realize it was 10 yet. So we're double digits. Here we go, right? Before we know it, we'll be 20. So yeah.
How's the current class doing? What's happening down in Bentonville?
Yeah, so things are, I can't believe it's already November. We got next week, then we go on a little bit of a break and then come back and we're done with the semester after 2 weeks. So the first 2 weeks of December will be busy with exams. We'll be doing some practical hands-on benchmark testing as well as some written practical exams or written exams as well. Right now, we're wrapping up the semester with 2 new projects. We've got some great community partners, Pedal It Forward, who they take your donated bike, refurbish it, and get it out to folks that are asking for a bike. Kind of donate that out back to the community. So, fantastic service. They've given away this year about 3,000 bikes to community members, and we needed some bikes to work on, and I partnered with them. We brought 10 kids' bikes in to get refurbished, ready for their big kids' bike drive just around the holidays. So students are getting, some more real world experience working on bikes that are, kind of difficult to work on, And then another one of our partners, Trailblazers, who's a big advocacy group for trails in Northwest Arkansas, along with Arkansas. They've got a fleet of bikes they use for their adult first ride program. So this is a program designed for folks that might not have touched a bike in 30 years or are, an adult and they've never ridden a bike. Very, very low key, very private, 10 people per lesson, per time they have these events, and they teach people how to ride bikes, but they need their bikes worked on. So guess what? We've partnered with them. We'll be working on them, and just kind of doing tune-ups, small repairs. I think we'll be able to do them once a semester. So just, it kind of comes full circle, right? Students are able to get a little bit of a challenge, but we're also giving back some time here in the classroom, and it's going to be fantastic. Really looking forward to that.
That is really nice. You really have touched your community. Every time we talk, I'm hearing like another thing you guys are doing in the community. So it's like not only in the classroom, not only are you, helping people find a future employment in this industry, but you're impacting the community. Early on in your answer there, you were talking about your students like being excited and they're learning so much, but they're also taking tests. And I just wonder, I remember being back in college, getting all nervous before a test. This is like, it's also hands-on. Are they nervous? Are they excited? Like, what's the feeling on test day?
Yeah, I mean, I get anxiety thinking about the word test.
I know.
So it occurred to me the first time I did this program and was involved that, wow, this could be a very, very stressful, because not only is it a knowledge test, but it's also a skills test, hands-on. So you're taking, what you're reading, processing that, and, not just telling me about it, but you're also using your hands to fix it. So to decrease some anxiety, we do the same test during our midterm exams and midterm season. And then we also have kind of a review week, if you will. So students can work on those skills. They do have benchmark times they have to meet in order to get inside of the efficiency window we're looking for. To decrease some of the anxiety, it's prepped well in advance. Something I've learned is just an educator, don't have any surprises. There's in the real world, we can use calculators and the internet. So we're going to continue to do that in our space as well. So,
I love it. I love it. That chance to like practice ahead. So you're not, it's nervous. Just the word. You're right. All right, Ben. So we better get into it here. So we have 3 questions. And let's just dive in. The first one actually came from one of our NBDA P2 retailer meetings this fall. So we're always working with the retailers to talk through ways to find more profitability. And in this case, we were working through service center planning and efficiency when this question came up, and I was like, this would be a great question for Ben. So the group was trying to talk through how to achieve quicker turnaround times. And so the question is, do you have any advice for handling and prioritizing repairs during peak season to get this quick turnaround time without sacrificing quality? So we were talking about bikes coming back, quality not being the same for every single repair done. But how do you prioritize, how do you do this? So any advice for handling and prioritizing repairs to manage quick turnaround times, but not sacrifice quality?
Yeah, it's a tough balance, right? And each shop's going to be a little different as well. So shops, that really don't have an off season, like here in the South, it's your game on all the time, depending on where you are, and then the seasonal piece there, it could be 6 months of like, everything is crazy busy, it's 10, 12-hour days, whatever. So it's going to be a little different for each individual shop, but there's some foundational components we need to keep in mind around building efficiency. And a lot of that can be built through repetition. And of course, when we think about repetition, we need to think about service as a process, and it's not just a one-off. So, each bike derailleur, the rear derailleur for cable actuated rear derailleur should be set up in a similar process across most of your different various manufacturers. Everything's got a high low limit screw. When we're talking about our rear derailleurs, the hanger needs to be straight, the wheel needs to be in the dropout straight. So thinking about the steps for that process, are we following that every single time? Can we execute that the same way every time, outside of the various repairs that are needed to be made to that bike? Meaning, there's things that we don't control. We don't know how many miles are on that bike. We don't know if this or that's happened. So there's the, the wear and tear piece. So
Mhm.
measuring the chain before we start working on the bike, cleaning the bike before, before we start, the work process, if that's going to be part of our service we offer. Making sure that the wheel, like I said, the wheels in the dropout straight. Effective service department management definitely requires intelligent use of our limited resources. We do have limited resources. We don't have everything. So some of that capacity could be mechanical capacity. Some of it could be advising capacity as well. Or do we have a dedicated advisor? Do we have someone in that role when it's the busy time? Do we have someone that's, is probably the smartest person in the shop that can make those quick calls on the evaluation and inspection process when that rider brings their bike in? Storage capacity, that's a huge issue, right? I mean, we don't want to have just, our storage space that's, half the shop. We try to make the best out of our space. And then service parts, of course, having to order service parts. Is it a week? Is it 2 weeks? What do I even keep in stock? So, utilizing our resources in the best way possible. How do we do that? Well, I think about kind of our service queue, right? What's checked in, what's not checked in. And that's really dependent on what that rider needs and our capacity to make sure we can say yes to that service, whatever they're needing to get them back on the road. Multi-person shop, I highly recommend we assign some dedicated roles. Dedicated service advisor, like I talked about there, is clutch, if you will. So dedicated production techs, make sure they're uninterrupted workspace. It's going to be a little different for each shop, and I know there's a local shop that has their workspace for their production tech, their main tech that's working on those checked-in service jobs. They're right up, they're customer facing. The customers are welcome in the space, which maybe that's how the shop is designed, and maybe that's part of the culture that they're building with that and how they're able to reach the customers. And that's just that, but they do work on efficiencies as well. They have processes in place for each service. They do this before this. If step 5, they get to the end of it and it's not working, they don't go back to step 3, they go back to step 1. So did I double check to make sure that hanger was straight for my rear derailleur? Oh, you know what? I didn't. I missed step 1. I need to work on my efficiency. So taking time out as well throughout the year is great. So maybe in your downtime, maybe in the off season, we can work on those efficiencies to get better. What process is actually going to be the fastest? And set some realistic expectations, right? We want to make sure we're realistic here. Make sure we're confirming expectations with that rider. So if it's checked in work, if it's on the spot work, when do you need it? When are you hoping to get back on your bike? I'd love to get back and head back to work right now. I'm on my bike on my way to work. I've got a flat. Okay, let's take care of this right now. Make sure you're taken care of. So, working from the most obvious to the least obvious to solve those problems. Utilizing your point of sale system as well. So make sure we're understanding if our point of sale system has a messaging system, has a way to message customers to notify that they are their bike's ready, its service is complete. If you don't have that feature, maybe it's time to update as well. Maybe there's some opportunities there that we can invest and have an initial cost that maybe we're not happy with, but that impact on our efficiencies is going to greatly outweigh that initial cost. So hopefully I answered some questions, maybe gave a few people some tips there. Really building the efficiency piece. Part of our program here is building that efficiency so that the student and the tech can be proficient in order to, again, be profitable as well. So
yeah, there's a lot there. The first thing you started out with is like that fundamental component of efficiency through repetition. And I think if you can get like your whole staff to buy into that and have, everyone on board with the process, then that goes a long way. And, that there's a lot there. So I think that helps. I think it's good. Every time we're talking about the service center and how we can be more efficient and dial in operations, I feel that sometimes owners of stores just think it's such a big thing to bite off. Like like we know we should have quicker turnaround times. We know we should be efficient. We know that there's opportunity for huge revenue gains, but where do we start? And it gets like a little confusing, or it's just too big,
Yep.
So operational procedures.
Yes. Yeah. Chunk it up, make it small. What's the lowest hanging fruit? Is it just, making sure your front mat is swept off every morning? Well, that's step one. Is it a welcoming space? Absolutely. Step two, we're ticking off these little boxes, right? But don't forget to go back and sweep that front mat every morning, right? I mean, so we can't just do it once. We got to repeat this process. So.
It is true. It is true. All right. Well, I'm going to stay here because this group, this P2 group that I was with, this group of retailers, we did continue into the service center conversation. And then we got around incoming bikes. So right now there's, it's the November and some retailers are taking in bigger shipments of bikes that are coming in early for next year. And the question is, we've got all these bikes coming in. Some retailers want to get them assembled right away and have them ready to go. Others just want to refine the process of assembly and figure out, the question was, one retailer says we take the bike out and we basically go through and rebuild the whole bike, going through even truing the wheels. And another retailer was like, oh my God, that's too much time. You can't do that. And then the question is, so when unpacking bikes new out of box, is there a routine or build process that you suggest to ensure accuracy in build and prep for floor that keeps the process quick and concise but doesn't miss anything? So do you suggest the spot true on every bike coming out of the box? I kind of asked you 4 questions there, but you know what I'm saying, right, Ben?
Right, yeah. Yes, that's a lot to kind of unpack, but to your point there with your 2 members, that there are shops that completely pull it, it's a frame up build, they pull everything off. So that quality piece is really valuable to them, right? But maybe not the quantity or speed, and that's fine. Everyone's going to be a little different. And that's what makes our industry very unique and appealing to our communities. Are we meeting our community's need? Our cyclists need as well. There's lots of opportunities to improve accuracies and decrease build times. I think we can all agree on that. So what are those times that we want to decrease? What is the inaccuracies that we don't want to have? First, I kind of want to get into a little bit on the brand side, kind of take a little tangent, but I think it's important to talk about. I believe there's a bigger opportunity for these bike brands to continually improve on their side. So this is where our relationship with the bike brand or our vendor or our supplier or rep comes into play is, hey, it's taken me 45 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, whatever it is to build this specific bike. I love it. My customers love it, but can we work on, maybe influencing the packaging process, that assembly line packaging process? And they do have a little bit of control on that, right? They do. There's some different, obviously some different ways that those bikes get packaged, but is there a way to increase QC efforts? Kind of be that squeaky wheel with your rep or whoever that is. Maybe it's part of your reason you chose a certain bike brand is because there's smarter packaging there. Maybe it's more sustainable packaging. And not just do this for the premium bike line, but across even your what's your most popular bike you sell? Let's talk about that. How long does it take to build that bike? Is it a 45-minute build? What am I looking at before I even pick up this line of bikes from my brand or supplier? Is there an opportunity to create or modify packaging to decrease build time? Think about the amount of waste that our dealers and our IBDs are having to get rid of for each bike. I mean, we're not being part of the solution to decrease the waste, human waste there. What we do with packaging and plastics and, even cardboards that are recyclable. So the costs that are associated with proper disposal of those pieces. Where I live, thankfully recycling is a free service. It's not, we don't have to pay for it in our community, but in other surrounding cities, you have to pay for it. It's part of that trash bill. So luckily that's a great thing. So we definitely fill up our recycling bins as much as possible and kind of wait to the last minute to dump those. So yeah, there is a cost for the dealer to get rid of that packaging. It's either paying someone to break those boxes down, or maybe you have to pay for that cardboard dumpster. I don't know. So talking to, having a good relationship with that vendor and kind of being that squeaky wheel to see what opportunities they have to improve that packaging for us. We all pretty much have a build checklist, right? Checking off that this bolt got tightened, the saddle's in the position, we've got the tires to this PSI. Did we test ride it? Yes, we test rode it. Did we have another tech sign off on that? Think about what's on that checklist. Is the checklist information helpful in determining whether or not the bike is ready for the floor? Or is it just for us peace of mind that our employee did it right? Where are we balancing that? What exactly are we doing with that information as well? Does that get passed on to the customer? Is that in the notes? Is something we put with a hang tag that's here's what we've done with that bike. The last bike, or I guess one of the bikes I built came with 2 pages of what they did. And I was like, okay, this is a little overkill, but it was nice to know that this is, where they check the boxes on every piece that they touched. I think there's a few, I don't have a step-by-step guide, but there's a few key points to a step, to your build checklist that's going to help with some quality and to be concise. Think about that bike build, kind of, the front of the bike to the back of the bike approach, or from the back of the bike to the front of the bike. Don't find yourself in the back of the bike, middle, the back of the bike to the front of the bike, and then you're moving to this piece. So make it a streamlined movement across the bike. Try to only touch systems once. For example, don't come back to the seat post collar bolt 2 or 3 times. If you're got your torque wrench out, go ahead and tighten that bolt. Make sure your seat post is set at the minimum insertion and it's aligned to the top tube. Don't jump back and forth between different systems. Make sure that system's ready to go. If you have your torque wrench out and it's set to 6 Newton meters, make sure that we are, torquing all our fasteners that require that 6 Newton meters. So here it is. I'm setting it once. Everything that's 6 Newton meters, I'm going to tighten that up to 6. Done. I can set it to my next, whatever it is. So 40 Newton meters, make sure you're setting your lock rings, your cassette lock ring, if you have center lock rotors, those things. And then I'm done with 40 Newton meters. Make sure you have your tools in a great place that you can reach them. Stay organized with those tools. I love wearing an apron. I have my 6, 5, and 4 right here. And then I've got, my flashlight right here. Keep 2 or 3 pairs of gloves on the right side. So know where your tools are in your apron as well, and not just put things in your pockets and then you're scrambling around trying to find all those rotor bolts and you have them in 3 or 4 pockets and you left 2 or 3 on the workbench. Think about how many times that you're touching a component or a tool as well. That's really something, am I picking this 5 millimeter up 7, 8 times? So let's keep in my hand and let's do this. Prepping your tires and wheels and then putting them on the bike, air them up, get them on the bike. We're done touching that component. It's good to go. One of the big things that I'm thinking about, like students, we take packaging off, we toss it in the trash can. And maybe there's a part that we might have forgot to install and we can't find that. More than likely, we might have thrown it away. I'm guilty of that one. So don't toss that trash immediately. Make sure we got everything on, nothing's missing before we take that trash out. And that includes if you're keeping that owner's manual, I hope you are, making sure the rider gets all their items that go with that bike. If it's an Axis equipped bike that's got the batteries, is the charger there? Is the charger, can I associate that with the bike? Utilize your POS system again. I'll go back on that. Scan the bike in. You don't even have to unbox it, right? All your bikes are gonna have the serial number, a barcode out the side. Scan it in right there. Size. Put all that information in. Before POS systems were widely used, and this was ancient times. So I remember like handwriting things down, and then at the end of my build day, I would go in and put everything in manually.
Wow.
And, this is before things were as good as they are now. So there's some really great systems out there that are going to be, fantastic in supporting more efficiencies in your shop. So.
I love that. Yeah, lots of little nuggets in there, but just like we've all been there, right? When we're unpacking a bike and something goes to the wayside. Again, it comes back to systems, right? And I loved some of the tips you have about the torquing or how often you're picking up or putting down a tool. Thanks for that.
Spot true on every bike, right? Wheels. That's a big one, right? Man, make sure they're straight. You're either gonna have to do it now while it's right there in front of you, or you're gonna have to do it later, when the customer notices. So when do you want to do that? If you're getting wheels from on a bike that are out of true and needing that much work, maybe it's time to take a look at what's going on the bike brand side or the suppliers or shipping side.
Yeah. Yeah, and don't be afraid to let the bike brand know too.
Yeah.
And the other thing, even back to your answer from the first one, I would just say get employee buy-in. So once you establish what your process is, get the whole team on board. This is the way we do it, and I think that'll go a long way.
Yeah. And in training as well, if you know what the process is, that's going to be super easy for you to, hey, here's how things are done. And that this is our service. This is the service way. Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right. The next question comes, we have a new shop in Massachusetts that just joined the NBDA. And it's a smaller shop focused on service and repair. And he writes that the process of diagnostics can monopolize many of his shop mechanics' times on incoming repair. Like when the customer comes in, I hear a noise, it's in the drivetrain. And instead of just, taking the bike down and writing it, the mechanics in this case, and because the retailer told me, put the bike up in the stand, they're trying to figure it out with the customer there. And it's like, oh my gosh, before you know it, it's been 20 minutes and 20 minutes is time. So the question is, what are the most effective techniques for diagnosing these drivetrain issues that might not be immediately obvious? Like you might not see a bent hanger or, I don't know, a kink in the chain, if you would.
Yeah, well, congrats on, is this a new shop, brand new shop?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, congrats on that. Great. It's always nice to see new shops and then they automatically reach out and figure out where their best resources are and their people are. So congrats on that. Up in Massachusetts, is that right?
Yeah, just north of Boston. Yep.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's great. All right. So yeah, this is one that can be, we can talk a little bit about this, I think, but I think we've touched on some of these points already. I always like to talk to the rider first before I kind of touch their bike. I don't know, what's going on, how you doing, what's your experience on this bike? Well, I was riding along and it started making some noise, not sure what it is. I've been riding this for X number of years. I was recently working and supporting the state NICA championships down in Fayetteville a couple weekends ago, and had a lot of students with this kind of same thing is noisy drivetrain. And probably out of the 30 bikes I touched that weekend, about 25 of them needed a clutch overhaul or service. They've been riding the heck out of these bikes, these kids have, and they don't know what a clutch is. So here's the noise, here's the problem, here's what we need to do. And so it was surprising how many students, but when are you riding, how are you doing on this bike, when does it make noise, that kind of thing. So asking those questions up front. Hey, can I take your bike, put it in the stand, take a look, see what's going on. There's kind of a strange rule out there. It might not be widely known, but there's a rule called the Sutton rule. Have you ever heard of this one?
No.
So this bank robber back forever ago, back in the, I believe his 20s maybe, very successful bank robber. I mean, this is really good at robbing banks. And so he finally got caught, and they said, hey, why are you robbing banks all the time? Well, it's where the money is, right? So, working from that most obvious to the least obvious, or least intrusive to the most intrusive. So we're not, going in and hanging it up and replacing all the cable and housing. It's that's a little bit more intrusive. So check the chain for wear. Is the chain worn out? That could be possibly what's going on. Drivetrain, is it clean? Are we using the correct lubricant? What kind of chain lube have you ever used? Do you know anything of, I'm not saying that they know anything about the chain lube, but let's ask them what kind of maintenance they like to do to their bike. What do you find yourself when you're washing your bike? Are you replacing that chain lube and putting something on there? Oh, I don't even know what chain lube is. Maybe that's their response. So good time to educate, right? What do you use? What's the good stuff here in this region? So I would imagine, around the Boston area, there's going to be a different chain lube you want to use than here in the South, where we have a little bit more humidity and, things get a little bit hotter. So yeah, checking the hanger to make sure it's straight. Is that derailleur installed correctly as well? Came across that again, kind of at that race that I was supporting. The derailleur was not installed correctly, and the chain was not even installed correctly, causing some problems. It was a directional chain. So, kind of like, well, let's take a look, let's make some visual observations. Is the wheel and the dropout straight? I've taught students all year, and they come to those final exams and, that they're raise their hand, they're finished up. I go to inspect the work. And, they're like, yeah, I had, struggled to go into this gear. Like, okay, well, is the wheel and the dropout straight? Sure enough, I open the quick release and pop it in straight. And I'm like, okay, you got to do it again because now everything else is messed up. So even items like the hub on that rear wheel, your free hub body, yes, that free hub body is a wear item. I experienced this on my bike. I have a new set of some zip wheels, and got about a year's use out of them before that free hub body started to wear out, and the pawls were, I could obviously tell there were some problems here. So replacing that definitely changed and decreased some noises I was hearing on that bike. What's the condition of the cable and housing as well? We're thinking about noises. Cable and housing is it's got a plastic sheath over the outside of it. For most of the part, it's typically going to have some plastic ferrules on there, and those will split and crack. Weather and plastic, those two are kind of nemesis a little bit, so we can get some issues between that. So noises, those are, that kind of means there's some vibration present, right? Vibrations, sound waves are created by two surfaces sliding together. So think about like a violin. It's just two surfaces sliding together creates the noise that we hear. So that means, two things are sliding against each other, causing some type of noise. And this is something you want to address quickly to decrease any damage that might occur between those two parts, so we can get more life out of our components. Was recently listening to a podcast, and they had to ask a wrench part of the podcast.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, pretty cool. And always something interesting. Some of it's like, yeah, I knew this already, but this one was like, I'd never heard of this, but this rider was having some mysterious sounds coming from their bike. And the technician that was answering this question was like, I did everything. I had it stripped down. I could not find out what this noise is. And started to disassemble the drivetrain, and was removing the bolt for the band clamp on the front derailleur. And as soon as they, started to lever that off and break the friction there of the bolt, the noise occurred. So it was actually noise between the seat tube and that band clamp of the front derailleur.
Oh my gosh.
So had invested a couple of hours.
Yeah.
And here it is. Simple things like that. Another topic they touched on was the length of rigid seat posts inside of seat tubes. So the seat collar kind of acts like a fulcrum points at the frame for the entire seat tube, which can cause some issues. You can get some flex within that. There's a lot of movement that can, small movement that can happen, a lot of micro, so let's say micro frame flex, if you will. It happens. And the seat post, if we have a really long lever and a fulcrum really far away from that, there's some opportunity for some movement there and some noise to be created. So This tech had recommended and does cut down any unnecessary length on that seat post to decrease that noise, or at least, maybe it completely goes away. So, we can get really long seat posts and have just a small amount that we use, but taking off that little bit seemed to solve a lot of problems in their shop. So
You would have never,
yeah.
you would have never thought, like, all these little things, right?
Yeah, all these little tiny things, and we're so aware of this, right? We love our bikes and we want them to ride perfect every time. So that, it's easy to hear these things too out riding.
Yeah, lots of things. I'm getting lots of little ideas in my head. I hope our listeners are too. Ben, I have one final question. Just thinking about, we're planning already here for 2025. I'm having lots of conversations with brands about tech, new products
Mm.
coming forward. As a person who's preparing educational content for incoming students, just thinking about some of that must change as tech changes. So is there any new curriculum that you're working into your agenda for this coming year?
There is a lot of innovation on the line, right? We've seen some great product, and it's going to get even better. Nothing that's new per se, that's brand new that I automatically think, oh yeah, we got to get this in here, because a lot of the principles around service can be very much the same across one particular product, whether that product is innovated each year and maybe a feature that's added. One of those, and it's not new, but one thing that I'd love to add is integrated cockpits, meaning that stem headset routed cables. So the brake cable leaves the shifter on your gravel bike or road bike, travels through the handlebar, through the stem, steer tube, headset into the frame. So you never see any external cable there, but it can definitely be a technician's and mechanic's nightmare.
I've heard. I've heard.
Yes. And it looks really good, right? Your bike looks faster. You don't have any external cables. It's super clean. E-bikes, this is something that e-bikes have and will continue to have. I don't think this is something that's going away. So having that component, or at least giving the students that experience, is going to go a long way in their education and their training here on campus. And I don't, this has been around for a second, that integrated cockpit. I don't see it leaving anytime soon. It's not a trend. I don't think it's going to go away. It seems like it's here kind of to stay. People like it. It looks really good. But it was one of those pieces, maybe the engineers, designers didn't really talk to a whole lot of techs and actually figure out how hard is this going to be to service that headset. So, it is difficult, it's time consuming, and I believe there's some processes there that we could possibly build to make it easier, better, and more efficient. We could hopefully continue to make a profit. Something else that I would love to add is, and this is addition to, hopefully I can do this next fall with our drivetrain class, is chain waxing.
Oh,
That's a service that could absolutely be offered at a shop, and it's easy to get the material now and the tools to make that happen. But I feel like that would be in addition to our current curriculum that it needs to be added. There's several shops in the area
already
that are doing that. They're stripping the chains and then waxing that chain and installing that for the customer. And you can buy pre-wax chains right now on the internet. So why are shops not offering this service? Definitely an opportunity there. It's fairly low cost, and it's another service you could add that's going to heighten that experience for the rider. What else is kind of new? A couple of changes with one change with our program. So we traditionally, I didn't add this in our notes here, Heather, but we've traditionally been on 16-week semesters. So it's 16 weeks in the fall, August to the first week of December, second week of December, and then we pick back up in January and go all the way to May. That's a large chunk of time for folks, right? That's a big, dedicated time in school. So we're decreasing our semester to 12 weeks. So 12 weeks. Yes, 12 weeks. So we'll have just 12 weeks next semester. 12 weeks in the fall, it'll be a 12-week semester. So within 24 weeks, you'll be able to complete this program. So what does that do to our day-to-day schedule? Yeah, it's pretty fun. I'm excited about it. So our day-to-day schedule, we have, for an example, our fall semester will be 8 to 2 o'clock, Monday and Wednesday, and that's it. So come 2 days a week, 8 to 2, and you're out, so you're done with your schooling that week. And I'm going to be offering our service department operations as an online course as well.
Wow.
So students will have 3 in-person classes and then just 1 online class. So most of our service department ops class is lecture based. So that's 75% is. There's a couple of in-person assignments, but for the most part, that should be an easy transition to an online format.
Ben, I think people are going to want to know more about this. Like, this is a big, you heard it here first moment. No, I don't know if you did, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, excited about that. Our Minneapolis campus does it and has had a lot of success with it. And I've finally got to a point where we're able to do it here in Bentonville.
So people can come and see you for like 3 trainings in person, and then they'll complete the rest online.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Wow. So they'll go to the website to learn more, Ben? Or
so they're still here for 12 weeks, right?
Okay.
But it's 2 days a week for 12 weeks.
I understand.
So,
okay.
Yeah. Online, the spring semester schedule's up, but we'll also be continuing this through next fall, and this will be the program now. Another piece there is always our e-bikes class. E-bikes are always something we can improve on or add to. I've got kind of a special project, more on that later after the first of the year, but a special project I'm working on with some great partners and trying to offer some more intensive base training. I'm not going to reveal too much there, but I think that's going to be exciting in a way for us, to partner with NBDA and their members as we move forward.
Ben, this is like, now you've got my ears, like I'm ready. So we're
well,
excited.
be ready for a proposal coming across the email after the first of the year. Excited for that project. Hopefully, everything will work out. That might be even sooner, but I think first of the year is a good timeline for us here. So
I love it.
E-bike content related one. Yeah.
E-bikes continue to grow and thrive, and they really are, they're making a big move in the industry, and we need to make sure we have trained mechanics and certification processes in place. So I'm really excited to hear this. I'm really excited just to see you and the school continue to grow. We're coming back down there in May at our retailer summit, so we'll see you again. It's been great.
Exciting.
Tour the facility in the past. So Ben, thanks for coming on the podcast once again. Episode 10 in the books now, officially double digits.
Happy to do it. This is a great thing for me. I do enjoy it. So value our time and in the relationship we have here with the NBDA. It's been a fantastic partner. I love supporting retailers and our service departments out there. Please, any questions you have, we'd love to hear them. Send them our way.
Yeah, I love it. I think the theme today is really just procedures, the foundations, efficiency, getting the team on board, and then some of those diagnostic tips. Excellent job as always. Listeners, that wraps up our episode for today. Always fun to take our questions that our retailers have and address them online. Lots of different ways to do things. Ben has a great way of looking at things in the way that he teaches his students. So listen again, take notes, and see how you can apply it to your business. If you want to have your question answered, just send me a note, heather@nbda.com. You can ask us any questions on bicycle service center, mechanics training, bike assembly, anything goes. Thanks for listening. If you're not already a member of the NBDA, please do so today. Go online, nbda.com. You can see the slew of member benefits, all the reasons to join, and sign up right there. And when you're there, there's also a pop-up sign up for our newsletter and stay in touch with all of our events happening. Thanks for listening. I hope you have a great afternoon. Ben, thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into Bicycle Retail Radio, presented by the National Bicycle Dealers Association. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you did, please like, subscribe, or leave us a review. Sharing this podcast with your friends helps us reach more listeners and continue to bring you the best content. Remember, we host 2 shows per week with ever-changing guests and fresh content to keep you both informed and inspired. The National Bicycle Dealer Association is committed to providing valuable events, webinars, and opportunities for industry education and connection. Stay up to date by visiting nbda.com to see our event calendar. Special thanks to Francis Abbott for the promotional graphics for today's episode. If you're interested in advertising on Bicycle Retail Radio or have a guest suggestion, visit nbda.com to learn more. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time on Bicycle Retail Radio.